We're just live to TSTV.
In the war room, they're just watching all of us.
We're going live to the transgender porn site.
4, 3. Sorry. 4, 3.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Real Talk. We're rebooting the Sneak Peek podcast, so this is technically our pilot episode.
Yeah.
Or at least for this semester. I'm your host for all of these episodes we'll be doing every single week, Ethan Berman, and I'm joined today by...
I am Blake Boserman.
And Parker Lehman.
Awesome. Are y'all on Sneak Peek?
Yes, I am a writer and guy that hosts a game show on occasion.
And when is Sneak Peek, Blake?
Sneak Peek is Thursdays at, was it 9:30 p.m., I believe?
Yep.
Texas time. And what channel can you find that on?
You can watch it live on the internet at watchtstv.com.
There you go. That's right. And also you can watch our old stuff on YouTube, too.
All right, so we're going to start the episode like we always start every episode. What have you guys been watching? We're film people.
You go first, Blake.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, let's see. What have I watched recently? I watched Whiplash, finally. It was fantastic.
Wow.
I watched Get Out, which was also good. And I've been watching Ruby, the online series. And I'm not an anime guy, so I didn't know how I'd feel. Fantastic series, really good.
Is that about Jack Ruby? Or what?
No, it is not about Jack Ruby. It's
anime about Jack Ruby?
No, it's created by Rooster Teeth. Woohoo's a lot of Sneak Peek alums there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's all the coolest parts of any anime you can think of boiled down into 8-minute episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's really good. It's a lot of fun.
The major premise behind it is gun swords, basically.
Yeah.
Every single thing's a weapon and a sword, or a gun and a sword.
And then I know the first part of the animation was by Monty Oum, who,
Yeah.
rest in peace, amazing animator. And it's just so fluid. All the action scenes are so well done. So yeah, check it out.
You can watch more anime.
Yeah.
How about you? What have you been
Oh,
watching?
I saw Phantom Thread recently. I was, I enjoyed it immensely. My favorite movie ever is the other Paul Thomas Anderson, Daniel Day-Lewis movie, There Will Be Blood,
Oh, yeah.
which is a very, very, very different movie. It was
Are you-
nice to see Paul Thomas Anderson kind of restrict himself.
Are you a Master fan?
Master's amazing. Yes, it's good commentary. Philip Seymour Hoffman is when he's not nodding offset, he's doing a great job. But yeah, I like that Paul Thomas Anderson restricted himself to a more personal story instead of this massive sprawling, everything type of thing, whatever Inherent Vice.
Yeah,
was.
Inherent Vice was big, yeah. Yeah, I saw Phantom Thread as well, and it was a good date night movie.
Yeah, certainly.
And then I saw Shape of Water for the third time. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Shape of Water. It's just, there's something about just the effects, the aesthetic, the story is just so... I like the notion of you're following the help in this top secret facility, and then it's a love story, it's romantic, the monster isn't who you think the monster is, it's great, so, yeah.
Doug
Cool,
Jones,
very cool.
man, underappreciated. He's the next Andy Serkis.
Honestly, yeah.
Is it
in terms of
more-
practical, too.
Is it more or less romantic than Finn and Rose in The Last Jedi?
Oh, man, way more romantic.
Okay, good,
I
good,
don't
good.
even want to get off on that. Thing.
Without any dialogue from one of the characters, there's plenty of more romantic
Okay,
development.
got it. So between a mute woman and a fish, there's more chemistry than between Rose and Finn. Got
100%.
I'm glad we got that covered because it's a very important point. All right, cool.
All right, so let's move into the news.
Yes.
So we'll be doing this a little bit. All right, so this wasn't a huge weekend at the box office with 50 Shades Freed coming in. Allison, teleprompter.
Yeah, come on.
Thank you,
Coming in
Allison.
first with $38.8 million, pushing the franchise to over $1 billion worldwide. Peter Rabbit came in second with $25 million on his first weekend. And Clint Eastwood's new film, the 15-17 of Paris, the one with the actual guys playing the actors, was third with $12.6 million. Jumanji continues to do well with fourth spot with $9 million. And rounding out the top five is The Greatest Showman, Hugh Jackman's new movie, with reaching another $6.4 million.
I can't believe that's our top five. Looking at those movies.
I know.
I mean, say what you will about everything. I'll say Jumanji. I'm happy that it's doing well because it has a soul, it has a heart. It's a fun action movie. It reminds me of the '90s.
I mean,
And,
it literally has a heart. It has a Kevin Hart.
Yes. Wonderful. But yeah, it warmed my heart watching it. Everything else on this list makes me deeply concerned for us as a society. 50 Shades Freed. I'm shocked that they made it this far.
I agree with your statement. I saw 50 Shades Freed, but I saw Peter Rabbit. I'm like,
Peter
what's your issue with
Rabbit.
Peter Rabbit?
Well, you know what that is? Paddington came out in America, said, what do we got? We got a
Right.
cute little fuzzy animal, you know what I mean? We can't get Russell Brand to play a rabbit again. That didn't go well the first time.
about that movie.
But the 50 Shades Freed. So I'm shocked that a franchise like this can make so much money and exist in today's world, considering how at a base level toxic the relationship is. And Say what you will about that whole world. You know, I've had my kinky relationships, and that's not what. This motherfucker. But like, it paints that in a really, really negative light, and it takes out almost the whole point by making it so goddamn abusive. And I don't get what people are getting out of it because it's not even good porn. You know what I mean?
It's smut.
I
and
would-
that's
I
the
wouldn't know,
entire
I've never
purpose.
watched one.
It's smut. It gives you It's butterflies. It
Yeah.
gives them butterflies.
I really liked the guy in Once Upon a Time, and that's about it. All right.
I don't know.
At the Super Bowl last week, we saw the debut of a bunch of trailers. We saw Mission Impossible Fallout, which I'm actually excited for.
Yeah.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, some more Chris Pratt. I don't know if we need any more, but we're getting it.
Yeah.
And we got a teaser for Solo, a Star Wars story. Definitely a movie that needs to exist. On Monday, Lucasfilm dropped the full teaser trailer, which seems a little late considering the film comes out in May.
3 months.
I was really like,
Yeah, it's coming out
I
so
had a betting
fast.
pool with my friends that it was going to get delayed until like next year, you know, or at least till December.
Frankly, I'm shocked that it wasn't. I'm
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah. Also, I can't remember. Is Woody Harrelson in the trailer? All right. I like Woody Harrelson, so I'm down.
Yeah.
Not only is Woody Harrelson in the trailer, but he lays out the point of the movie.
Oh, good,
'Cause
okay.
He says, I'm putting together a team, Han Solo. You see, you thought this movie was going to be about you. Really, it's going to be about this group of people that all die, and it's
Yeah.
going to be about family.
It's Rogue One. All these stories are going to be like Rogue One, where everyone dies off. And then,
Yeah.
All right.
There's a squad of celebrities, and they're all going to do something.
In addition, we got a trailer for the new Spider-Man pseudo spin-off film, Venom, starring Tom Hardy. Nothing happened in that teaser. It shows a considerable lack of Venom, but this can be expected when the film won't hit theaters till October. So it was definitely a teaser in the most real sense.
Oh, yeah.
The played Master Universe adaptation once again loses its director. David S. Goyer was set to direct the film after giving Sony a script they were pleased with, but due to scheduling conflicts, he's no longer attached to direct the project, but will stay on as an executive producer.
Thank Jesus, man. I can't even imagine what David Goyer would do with something that requires creativity as a director. And like, how do you make a giant muscled man with an Edna Mode haircut not homoerotic? You know?
I mean, that could be the fun of it, but
That could be the fun of
I
it.
mean,
but
what if
doesn't-
he has the power?
Yeah, but this man wrote Man of Steel. He doesn't really have a concept of fun. That's the problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
This week of trailers doesn't end with us getting a teaser to the highly anticipated Deadpool 2. The teaser shows the same ridiculous meta humor we expect from the Merc with the Mouth. The film is currently in reshoots. After,
Reshoots.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, they're replacing Ryan Reynolds with Christopher Plummer. Yes, via all CG. Yeah.
Put him in the suit. He's all like saggy. But, like, yeah,
Oh,
man.
man.
Deadpool. I think it's wonderful that it exists. It's a ray of sunshine. Let's hope that its acquisition
By Disney.
by the Disney conglomerate doesn't affect its its tone, which it absolutely will.
More on that later, yeah.
More later.
And on a sadder note, last night we got word that Oscar-nominated film composer Johann Johansson died at the age of 48. He was known for the scores behind The Theory of Everything and Arrival, and despite his passing, you can expect to see his work in some upcoming films such as Mary Magdalene.
Rest in peace.
Such a bummer.
Yeah.
That guy's probably one of the best. He was one of the best composers working right now. His work with Denis Villeneuve, or however he
Yeah,
pronounces his name.
Villeneuve, yeah.
That stuff was awesome. I have some of his like actual musical albums downloaded. I'd love to know what his cause of death was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's very, very young to die like that.
I have
So-
no clue.
Yeah, they haven't
Speaking-
released it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, speaking of all those movies he scored for, something they have in common, there's a villain in them. And the first topic that Blake brought up, first topic of the podcast, I just want to bring up, what's up with villains in movies?
That was
Yes.
a Paul Blart quality segue. right
Yeah,
there.
so I guess one thing I was thinking about, I was trying to think of good movie villains from 2017. And for me, what makes a good villain is like unpredictability. That like every second they're on screen, you're worried they're going to do something bad. And that's
Right.
why I love like Hannibal Lecter. I love Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men.
Sure.
And I think the only villain that made me really feel that way were the Armitages from Get Out. Like, I just watched it a couple of days ago. That like, especially the first half, that every second they're on screen, it just feels off. Like you feel like something's about to happen. And I think for me, that's a lot scarier than like a big clown who then attacks kids and says they'll float too. Because the only other major villain I can think of is what's his name?
Bill
Penny-
Skarsgård.
Pennywise.
Yes.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess like, what were your thoughts on the villains of 2017? Like, were there any that really stood out for you?
Oh man, not really at all. Like thinking back, I like the only thing that really comes to mind was Logan. You know, when they made that clone of him and he was all badass. He reminded me of like a Terminator. Like he reminded me of the prime Terminator, like 1 and 2, in terms of how scary he was and he was like unstoppable. Problem is, he's not in the movie that long. But if you think about incredible movie villains, where like Heath Ledger's Joker or something, where they're on screen, they just completely arrest your attention. I couldn't think of any of that.
I was actually gonna say that watching Blade Runner, I really
Oh, yeah.
I really
What was his
enjoyed.
name, Love?
Yeah. Love, and then Jared Leto's Waylon, I guess. I just actually really enjoyed that force because it was the same kind of thing of people who have this idealistic view of like the future of humanity, I guess, and it's conflicting with these people who have these personal love kind of or like hope, journeys.
Yeah.
So that was the only one that I could actually sum her up of. Yeah, she was actually a scary villain to me because she's just sitting like in her nails done, drone striking people and everything like that. And I was like, I
That's
actually
so
enjoyed
awesome.
it. I actually enjoyed her a lot.
Well, another one that I did like too, I just thought of just now, was Michael Keaton in Spider-Man: Homecoming when he played Vulture.
Yeah.
Just because like I didn't really like whenever he was a villain, I wasn't big on that. But the whole scene of like him like at the dance, like when he's like talking with Peter in the car, he's so intimidating with it. And I love Michael Keaton anyway. So I thought that was like something you don't typically see out of a Marvel villain, was like seeing them as like a person. So I thought that was really cool to like.
Do you think that plot twist got so much positive attention because we weren't expecting a plot twist in a Marvel movie?
Yeah,
anymore?
I didn't see. I did not see that coming. Like I really enjoyed that.
You don't really expect plot or like any sort of deviation from a Marvel movie. And like even though like the second before it happened when he walked up the door, I'm like, oh, I know it's gonna happen, but it was still so satisfying. And
Yeah.
That's what I think set Spider-Man: Homecoming apart and made it such a breath of fresh air after teen vampire Andrew Garfield and him fighting lizard men and whoever else he fought.
Did you like on the Marvel movies? Did you like Thor's villain?
I've not seen Ragnarok yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Yeah, I've only seen the scene where like,
You like
where the Hulk first charges out. He's like, yes, like that's the only part of the movie I've seen.
I actually voluntarily watched Thor Ragnarok the other week, which I thought that was a character evolution on my part.
Right.
But as far as Cate Blanchett, she looks like she's having fun and stuff, but it doesn't really click for me. Like it's because she's the main antagonist. I thought Jeff Goldblum was a better villain because he was so skeevy and different,
Right.
But I don't know. I like that they're putting these high caliber actors into the villain roles in Marvel because that's been the weakest point for a while. It's been the villains. And you can tell that they're trying in the casting department. What they really need to do is overhaul the screenplays and give them just more to work with.
That's something I thought was weird because the original Marvel movies were Iron Man,
Yeah.
and it was like you have Jeff Bridges playing this like really creepy, figure or whatever. Iron Man 2 had you can make fun of Mickey Rourke's character all you want, but it was iconic.
He was fun.
With
He was cool.
whatever, and
That
the
guy was
bird.
great.
Best part of it.
Yeah.
So like that had character, and then it's like who's the bad guy in Captain America? Like I guess Red Skull,
Red
but then like Winter Soldier, and it's just like. I feel a lot of the Marvel movies have gotten into like, okay, here's a random bad guy, animated bad guy we have to kill, and then the rest of the thing is going to be about internal emotion and conflict of how they got to the
Yeah. Well, they either need to go with internal emotion or conflict or like the cheese.
Yeah.
Because what I loved about Captain America and Red Skull, portrayed by the wonderful Hugo Weaving, one of my favorite actors, very underappreciated, was the cheese factor was upped, and he was just like, I got a red shit on my face. And like, I don't know. I feel like they're hovering in this middle ground of like kind of goofy and kind of serious, where they're talking with rhetoric about death and stuff.
Sure.
And it just needs to be more fun, I think.
Well, I think one other thing I had too is like my least favorite villain in 2017 was done purely due to casting. And it was David Thewlis in Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I just could not buy 70-year-old Remus Lupin as the God of War. I love the movie. I really enjoyed the movie, and just David Thewlis I think was the wrong choice for that role.
That made me uncomfortable. Like I was just like, what?
Yeah. And it's like, I guess like, if you couldn't see his face, it would have been okay, but you could still see that it was still an old man under there.
He grumbled his voice and gave him auto-tune and stuff. They really tried to make it work, but it is what it is with Thewlis.
That was still a weird decision. That's like World War I's being dictated by Greek gods. Yeah.
Ooh,
He just goes to like video game villain and he's like, then I will destroy you.
All
Oh
right,
my God.
we're going to take a quick break really quick. We're going to run an interview from South by Southwest 2017, but we'll be right back with more discussion.
Hey guys,
We take
Victoria
breaks? That's
Martin
Yeah,
here.
that way I can-
Back
Yeah.
here for the premiere at Infinity Baby at
Okay, we could. I'm glad we took a break right there because we could. Wonder Woman
Can you
is.
tell us a little bit more about your character and what attracted you to this movie?
Sure. This is, I think, my 5th movie with Bob. Bob's a weirdo, and I really like his cracked perspective. It's always an intelligent observation of human nature with a sense of humor. And I really, and we get to shoot it in Austin, and I'm a very big fan of Austin and barbecue in particular. So, he sent me the script, and my wife and I both really loved it. and he knew he wanted her to play her role of Esther, and we were talking about maybe a couple different things I would play, and we settled on this guy Neo. And it was, for me, it was really fun because it was a sort of fast-talking alpha energy that I'm not often associated with, and much more of a laconic, slow-talking sheriff, if I may flatter myself, or at least deputy, let's be honest. But so, you know, we're always trying something new, and this was in black and white, and there's always a freshness to working with Bob. And so all of that brought me here.
Awesome. Okay, and finally, what age would you choose to be forever if you had to pick?
I think I would choose this age that I'm at right now, because I'm happy, I'm in a good mood, I'm healthy, and I feel that I've amassed enough knowledge that I can work with it going forward.
What do you hope people take away from this movie?
Well, it's called Infinity Baby, and I would say that, like, the underlying theme of the film is certainly that, like, you know, men are kind of permanent babies in a lot of ways. And what should people take away from that, though? That they shouldn't be. That they should grow up. I think that's what I take away from it, is to grow up, guys.
Yeah.
Get it together.
Yeah.
It's also just really funny. Like, the actors in it are incredible. The script, when I first read it, and Owner Tukel wrote it, and he's one of my favorite writers. Like, when I read one of his scripts, I basically just laugh out loud, like, out loud in public places. He's that funny. Like, he's just so outrageous. So I hope that mainly, like, it entertains people, but also kind of gives them a hope to do something a little bit more. Points them in some kind of direction.
I like that. Okay, and finally, if you could pick one age to stay forever, what age would you pick?
Great question. 35? Maybe 33? No, I think 35. 35 is like the perfect age, because now I'm 36, and 6 just sounds like closer to 40, but 35 is like perfect, because you're not 40 yet, you're still like, you're mid-30s.
I was first added to the project because I knew Bob. We had worked together before, and I got sent the script a long time before it was ever made, and I wasn't exactly sure which girl in it I was, and then I ended up getting cast as sort of the youngest girl of the bunch. So really age was it. But also I like how sassy she is. She's very a little bit sarcastic, laid back, chilled out. I would like to say that I relate to that.
But what was your favorite scene to film, if you can tell us?
Oh, sure. There's a moment where I'm holding a baby and simultaneously yelling and hitting someone. And it was not only the first time I had ever held a baby in my life, but probably also the first time I'd actually hit someone. So it was a wild day.
If you could pick one age to stay forever, what age would you pick?
Probably like any age. Probably like 104, because everyone would think you are so wise all the time. And like anything you do, like if you go water skiing at age 104, you like go viral. So you could do anything, and you'd be incredible. There's a lot of ramifications in that question.
Hey, welcome back. So what I'm going to talk about, I'm gonna get way better at these segues.
Oh, it's all good.
What I want to talk about is, I saw Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I saw that, I actually wasn't watching Super Bowl live, I was on a set, so I was getting notifications, and then I got like 20 texts at the same time that the Cloverfield Paradox was out on Netflix the second Super Bowl was over.
That's right.
And I was just befuddled. I was like, that's such a big move, because that's a big IP, big property and everything, and they're just dumping it straight on Netflix. And then I was just thinking like how upset reviewers were at Bright. And half of it was earned, but half of it was because that movie got like 20 million streams in the first 3 days, which outperformed like any movie, that at the box, because people aren't paying for it, they're paying their Netflix subscription, they can go watch it immediately. So families over winter break were just watching it. And I realized, I'm like, there is like a middle tier of movies, right? That's getting put onto digital streaming. And this is like the best they have to offer almost.
Yeah,
you know, like, cause like there's always gonna be small indies like the Meyerowitz stories or whatever, like that are gonna be really good on that platform. But there's also gonna be a bunch of Adam Sandler, like what's that?
Ridiculous Six.
Ridiculous Six.
Yeah,
Ridiculous
yeah.
Six.
We all thought of the same movie there.
Yeah, on there. And like Cloverfield, it's like I'm not sure if that needed to be in theaters, you know. But at the same time, does that prevent people from making something of quality? You know. That's a discussion topic.
What it is
digital.
I think the straight to DVD market has become more credible in a way because the convenience kind of gives people a buzz. You know what I mean? People see the thumbnail with Will Smith and a weird-looking ogre guy, and they're like, "Ah, man, I'm gonna click that and take an hour out of my day." And it doesn't really matter, what the quality, as long as it's not complete shit. Because like Max Landis wrote that movie, Bright, and I like Max Landis. I think he's a wonderful little fella. But the problem is that script. Really, are you on the fence?
There's been some stuff about him recently.
Yeah,
anyway,
all that jazz. Yeah. I haven't heard about that.
But I like Chronicle. I like Chronicle.
I like Chronicle
Chronicle's
too, but he actually got the rights to Bright 2 taken away from him because.
Oh, I'm
of
sure he
the
did because I think the script was just a first draft because everything felt so awkward. Like and with Netflix is a studio, right?
Yep.
So I wouldn't put it past them to film a first draft of a script. And with Cloverfield, that seems like an IP like straight to DVD type of thing because everybody's like, oh my God, that's cool, that's so bold, when it happened. But then you watch the movie and the smoke kind of clears. And
Yeah.
you're like, I see what's going on. Okay.
How about you, Blake? Do you enjoy these digital like mid-tier movies that have been coming out?
I personally do, yeah. I think it all depends on like what you're looking for. And like for example, I'm a big fan of Scott Adkins, like the actor and the martial artist, and pretty much all of his movies are those. They're the ones that get put on Netflix and that kind of stuff. But then also, one thing I think about too is like the way that Cloverfield was distributed, how like they mentioned it and then suddenly it's there 30 minutes later. Pretty much everybody who saw that's like, well, I get an hour after the game, I'll watch it. Why not? Like that's a brilliant way to do it. I think Beyonce did basically the same thing with I think Lemonade.
Yeah.
She did.
How like she just dropped it and like didn't tell anybody. So.
And I was also gonna say, video games have been doing this for a long time now, and like I almost feel like video games were like the precursor to this because video games forever were brick and mortar, and all of a sudden digital comes out and they're like at E3, hey, guess what? You can download it right now. Hey, guess what? This game's out right now. And it's bizarre to me that a movie's doing that. Like, it's like, oh, hey, we made a movie in secret, and we're just gonna dump it, on a platform.
I'm glad you mentioned that about video games because they seem to be on the cutting edge in terms of what people want. Like, with the music thing, Kanye West, his latest album, Life of Pablo, he had DLC on it. He kept updating it. So that sort of thing.
Well,
like I feel like everybody's catching on. The instant gratification that people like nowadays, regardless of how it may be manipulating them psychologically and ruining their attention span. It's making money. It's the new way to go about it.
Well, how do you feel about DC movies essentially having DLC? That like 6 months later you're going to get the director's cut or the extended cut. I mean, movies have been doing that forever. But I feel like with DC, it's like the first franchise that you expect to get like that director's cut or extended cut.
It's interesting because it makes you wonder if Warner Brothers is just difficult because you don't hear or maybe Disney's just better at paying the directors to keep quiet because every single DC movie it's like, oh no, I'm an auteur, I need to have my thing out, or oh no, I have an issue, and then all of a sudden the full version, like this is okay, or more okay.
Same with Fox in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder, like, does Marvel have these same issues, or is DC just really bad about killing babies, or what? Like,
I think Marvel just has NDAs.
Yeah.
But like with the DC thing, I think the DLC is more of like an act of desperation than it is like they're throwing you a bone. Because DC is like a long, troubled history, and it started pretty much with Green Lantern, which is one of the toughest things to sit through on the planet, really. And the whole DC saga has been very interesting. Not the actual superheroes, but like how the movies have played out.
Yeah, because they kill it on television. Like they
kill it.
They totally carved out that niche, so it's weird. But do you think that this entire issue about DLC on content, do you think it's because media has become a service now? Like instead of it being like one time you get your ticket, you're good. Like even movie theaters are trained to a service where, hey, buy your AMC multi-ticket, whatever.
Get your movie pass. Yeah. I think what it is like you said, it's easier now to get technology and get information than it's ever been before. So like I said, if they say, okay, that Cloverfield's going to come out, great, I want to look forward to seeing it. Cloverfield's coming out in 20 minutes. Okay, cool. I don't have anything to do for the next hour and a half. I'll go check it out. I think it's like that using that like the impulsive buying nature of it. That was something you couldn't really do before. That like in like 1976 when Taxi Driver came out, it wasn't like you could watch it right now. You had to go to the theater and go watch it. So I think like. I don't know if it was 76, but you get my point. They're like it's a much more immediate experience now, and I think going with that attention span, like you said, you have to hook into people as quickly as possible to get them to watch it.
With Cloverfield, though, I feel like they kind of missed the point. Because the first Cloverfield movie, what made it so financially successful and everybody was interested in it, was that trailer with no title. And everybody was speculating for months and months and months on what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And there was that speculation and like wondering what it's about, the mystery that made it so appealing to people. If you tell people it's out in 20 minutes, they don't even have time to think about it.
That's fair,
Like,
yeah.
what's it called? Okay, I guess that means this. It's on a spaceship? Cool, okay. I'm on board. You know?
Right.
You know what other movie was also good for that? I think Project X was good for that. The party movie. They're like, nobody knew what it was about. They just knew it was about a party. But yeah, so that's kind of tangential. But
Yeah,
I do
extending
like
it to
building up that
comedy
mystery.
is interesting.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, man.
So,
It feels so cynical to me.
before we run out of time in this block, you want to talk about Disney.
I want to talk about Disney. Okay, so you know, people turn on a movie podcast, right, and they're expecting us to go Han Solo. You know, talk about the frames of the thing and who we saw. Oh my God, Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, exactly. But we could talk about Han Solo till we're blue in the face, but there's really nothing to talk about, is there? We know what it is. It's a cynical cash grab by Disney. Because Disney at this point is just on a rampage. I read somewhere that they own, like combined with the streams and the internet properties that they own 60% of pretty much all media.
Is that before or after the Fox deal goes
At
through?
least they will if the Fox deal, you know, goes through. And if you think about the reason people are still going to movies, people are still going to movies because there are these big spectacles that draw them in with the name recognition, right? So you think about blockbuster franchises. You got Star Wars, you got Marvel, you got X-Men, and DC, and Harry Potter, which is on its last leg. They're planning 6 Fantastic Beasts movies. No fucking way people are going to stick around for that. Especially with Eddie Redmayne at the helm. Eddie Redmayne's got all the charm of a spoon. But to quote, kind of quote Harry
They
Potter.
have that many planned out?
Yeah,
they're doing the Avatar
that
thing.
many, yes.
I will say, I like
so-
Eddie Redmayne. But anyway, that's beside the point.
I go on another tangent about Eddie Redmayne. But the point is, Disney owns all of those franchises except DC, which went... And like, so all that's left is like Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise is the Mummy.
Yeah.
And you know,
all
all that.
as you're thinking about the dark universe.
Yeah. So, and all that shit. So basically, they've got a vice grip, not only on the movies people are seeing, but on the conversations people are having about movies, because they own all, not to mention their remakes of the, you know, animated
the
movies,
live action
which is a
films.
whole other thing, and it's doing insanely well overseas, which is a whole other argument. But at this point, it scares me how far-reaching DC's getting, especially, I mean, DC.
As a Disney.
No, Disney's
I wish DC was
zero
far-reaching.
power, they're like flaccid. But because they're starting their own streaming service pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
Which means they're pulling all their stuff off of Netflix and Hulu. You can only
Which
watch it there.
they already did
which
that,
means
yeah.
Star Wars, Marvel, everything. They've already looped people in by putting all the Marvel movies on Netflix.
Yeah.
So like you have to wonder when it's just gonna all become one thing, and everybody's always talking about basically flavors of the same thing. It's just a massive circle jerk of tons of properties.
No, and it is interesting because everyone gets so excited with these live action movies. Like, oh, did you hear Jon Favreau's doing this? Oh, Guy Ritchie's doing this.
Man,
and I'm
it's
like,
bizarre.
what happened to going, oh, who's this director? And like watching a movie like Get Out. You're like, oh, this is or whatever. You're like, oh, this is really cool. Let me research who made this. Let me research like what's going on. Instead of it being, oh no, here's someone you trust. Don't worry, buddy. Like here's an actor you know. Here's someone you trust. Here's like the same exact cinematographer and same exact person. Let's factory pump it out and get you sucked in.
The age of hearing the concept of the movie, like with Prometheus and Pacific Rim, and going, that's cool, are over. It's what is it that I remember, who's in it, et cetera, et cetera. And Pacific Rim is an excellent example because now they're monetizing it with a bullshit sequel that captures none of the magic of the original, and it's just a shameless cash grab. And it's
did you guys watch the Super Bowl commercial with Chris Hemsworth and Danny McBride?
Yes.
Where like it's an Australia Explore Australia advertisement, but it starts off as a gag advertisement.
Yeah,
for
like a fake trailer. Yeah.
A Crocodile Dundee sequel, where Danny McBride's the son of Crocodile Dundee, and he's coming back to Australia to explore his roots.
Yeah.
And I legitimately was like, this is a real movie they're making. Like,
I would totally see that. Yeah.
I totally bought
nothing
it.
is off limits
And I was like,
anymore.
nothing's sacred.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess my thought for that was like, I know like it's happened a lot recently. However, I don't think it's new. I feel like Bruckheimer was doing the same thing in the '90s in terms of like you'd have this like cadre of people that would make a bankable movie and you'd go for it. That like I know Bruce Willis cranked out like 30 different like bankable movies throughout the '90s, and he got it through star power alone. So I think it's becoming more centralized now that it is like a group of people controlling a lot of movies that come out, but I don't think it's a new concept.
I'm going to say it's interesting when there's only so many films that are going to be in theaters, especially when it comes to the fact that anything original is getting bought by streaming, you know? And if Disney has this Disney/Fox has this lockdown on the content that's going to actually hit your theaters, it's worrying because at least it was, you know, Gone in 60 Seconds, right? With or like some kind of Bruckheimer movie that's like, or like The Rock, the Rock, or Bad Boys, or something like that. Like you can make fun of them because they're action schlock, whatever, but at least they were action schlock. They were like their own Point Break, whatever. They're their own movies. Versus this, where it's, hey, which Disney movie do you want to see remade in live action, whatever? And people watch it and they go, oh, I didn't like that one. I can't wait for Mulan this time, or oh, let's do a sequel so they can do it better. You know, and I'm like,
it's that action schlock is so rare. The last frontier of action schlock really was the X-Men franchise in a lot of ways, like the main X-Men movies, not the spin-offs and stuff. Bryan Singer's, you know, X-Men. And I think they were very smart in partnering with Disney before. You know, because with all this stuff that's going on, Bryan Singer is going down.
Oh yeah,
that dude is a monster. He's on meth. He's losing his mind. He was making the Freddie Mercury movies, throwing shit at Rami Malek. Like, he's just not well. So, you know, handing the reins over is definitely a good decision.
He's also a pedophile.
He's also, the pedophile thing, I'm assuming people know about it.
I will say one thing, more positive note, in terms of, like you said, all the big budget blockbuster action, whatever. That's one thing I do like about living here in Austin is, like, you can go to, like, an Alamo Draft House.
For sure.
And you can see the big budget action if you want, or you can see Lady Bird, Get Out, any of those two. So I think it also comes down to, like, the venues themselves. That, like, I like having the bankable movies for the fact that, like, if they're bankable, you might be able to afford showing some of, like, the lesser-known ones as well. But yeah, like, I know the theaters where I lived growing up, we would never have any of those. It would just be Godzilla, Fast and Furious, stuff like that all day long. That's all we have.
Yeah, if you live anywhere else that isn't Austin, you know,
Austin or like LA, that's about it.
You have a multiplex, you know, and it has Transformers, it has whatever Marvel movie and whatever, and it's weird when you walk in, you see the board, and it's like, okay, that's an IP, that's an IP, that's an IP, that's an IP.
Yes.
And we're moving into that IP system, and it just makes you wonder, like, where is the room for original content? And I guess when we
talked, getting much worse.
When we talked about digital, and it's like, cool, Bright came out, you know, but it's like, yeah, that exists. So
that's original, yeah.
It is original, but like Cloverfield's also coming out in it. So I think Cloverfield scared me because I was like, I'd rather at least have Bright be the #1 watch thing than have, I don't know, like, a sequel to some random, like Ant-Man be the most watched thing on Netflix, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know.
I think the IPs are expanding to the point where it's starting to dominate the creativity. Because you're starting to see writers' rooms emerge more and more in these blockbuster movies. And say what you will about Transformers or Godzilla, at least there's a directorial vision where you can watch it and say, I enjoy how Gareth Edwards does da-da-da, or Michael Bay, you know, splooge on the screen. But there's a trend nowadays that they'll get these guys who are writers and extremely inexperienced, like Tom Cruise's The Mummy, excellent example. Where they just throw some dude in the director's chair. The new X-Men movie, Simon Kinberg never directed a movie in his life, he's making a new one. Where they don't even care about that. The studio just tells them pretty much what to do, and they put it on screen. And it's evident almost in the visuals by how it just sucked dry of any enjoyment it is. Like, I recommend to everybody to watch Tom Cruise's The Mummy, because I talk about this movie a lot, because for me it was just an incredibly interesting experience watching its complete ineptitude and how pathetic it is. It's a really pathetic movie.
I do like the one point where Russell Crowe is like, but you're a younger man, you can do this. And Tom Cruise is older than Russell Crowe.
Tom Cruise is a year older.
I really like that.
Than Russell Crowe.
It's amazing.
Yes, yeah.
The Dark Universe terrifies me because I thought it was a joke, and then it's like, oh no, they actually plan to keep making these movies.
It's like an SNL parody.
Yeah.
We're gonna take, remember Frankenstein in the 30s? It's like, we're gonna make that a big blockbuster now. And that cast photo is just so sad now, considering the whole thing tanked.
Speaking of sad things, we're taking one more break. We're gonna run another interview, and we'll be right back.
I think that was a fantastic segment.
Muppet guys talking the secrets behind the show the whole world watched. We got interviews with a bunch of the cast members and Frank Oz. Stay tuned.
Well, originally I'd seen Frank and the fellow performers connected and having this great sense of camaraderie, and I thought I shouldn't be the only one witnessing this, hearing these stories about Jim, and so I said we should put this on film, and hence Muppet Guys Talking. So it's really about culture, leadership, and creativity.
And it's also about giving these guys their due, because I get credit, Jim got credit, but these guys don't get enough credit, and they're brilliant.
You can't really develop a character in isolation. very easily. But once you get that character interacting with a couple of others,
yes, then
all of
you
a
know
sudden
who it
they
is.
all become deeper characters. You know, you suddenly find out who they are.
And I tend to, I think, find characters through people, either in my life or that I meet. I'm always kind of observing people, you know, and I tend to maybe grab little bits of that and see if that works. And again, through improvising, like we had a chance to be Elmo's parents in a couple home videos, and those were brand new characters.
Gosh, that was so fun.
But I think we found them because of our relationship, and we figured out, you know, that fed, I think, these characters.
It's like
He's watching you right now.
I've got one already.
He's watching you too.
Yeah.
He's studying you.
You know, it's changed a little bit now. It's changing. People have realized the value of floor effects, and I think one loses a sense that's tactile. You know, if you do too much of it. But if you do it and it's invisible, I think you lose nothing, and it's great. It's when you show off too much is the problem.
I think also the energy of the performers, what a lot of people don't realize, and I learned myself, is that to create a character out of a piece of felt, to have it living and breathing, takes a certain level of energy and what is called in puppeteering manipulation. And so it's not that they're just doing the voices, they're actually making the character come to life, and they're imbuing that character with their whole essence.
Universal appeal. I mean, you can translate it. I think everybody finds the shows amusing. They know people like these characters. The sense of humor is just very accessible.
And I think, like we were saying earlier too, the idea that there are so many different characters and they have so many different personalities that I think people relate to different ones for different reasons. And it's just a variety of society in a sense. It's all these characters are like our world. You know, you can be anyone, you can be anything, you can be any color, you can be any race. It doesn't matter. They're all just there getting along and hanging out together and trying to make things work.
Turns out it's very timely now because it's about listening, it's about inclusivity, it's about acceptance and differences and tolerance and connectedness.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And that is what Jim is all about, you know, which is different than some things going on in the world right now.
Thanks, Sneak Peers. This is all we got for you today. Make sure you go to MuppetsGuysTalking.com for more information about this film. And follow Sneak Peek on Facebook, Twitter, and all the other various social medias. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for all more red carpets and movie reviews and movie news. Thanks, and we'll see you back here next.
All right, welcome back.
Chris looks so young and spry and full of joy in that clip. That's so wonderful.
Gotta love freshman Chris. So, Blake, you wanted to end us out here with the last topic?
Yeah, so I know we talked about a lot of heavy stuff today, so I wanted to end on a more positive note. I was curious, like, what's a movie from this past year, could have been released last year or just whenever, that you went into with low expectations and were very surprised by? Like, which one really positively surprised you? For me, I think the biggest one I want to talk about would be Spider-Man Homecoming. I know I mentioned earlier that, like, it felt very distinct for a Marvel film. Like, it really stood out as being, like, a teen coming-of-age story, and I really enjoyed that. Like I said, you had a solid villain, great performance by Tom Holland.
The soundtrack was great.
The soundtrack was great. And it's like, overall, like, that's one I went into thinking, oh, it's going to be a decent Marvel movie. I'm going to have a good time. I came out like, this is one of my favorite Marvel movies they've made. So I think that, like, I already had decent expectations, and it really exceeded them. So I really like that movie.
Nice.
That's shocking too, because it's a reboot of like they
Two
just
other
rebooted.
Spider-Men, yes.
Yeah. Spider-Men, multiple Spider-Men.
Right.
I guess I'll go. Yeah. Jumanji. Jumanji, I really enjoyed because like I was thinking going in like, oh God, you know, what do we got from the '90s? Like, is that sort of thing? And we're filled with an all-star cast, but they really justified it being a remake. Because what people don't understand about remakes is what you should do is make the same movie, but in a completely different spin on it. Take the concept and run wild with it. That's exactly what they did. They wasn't too ham-fisted with it. They had one little connection where they mentioned Robin Williams' character. And I just thought it was fun, cheesy. The ending is so saccharine, but not in a negative way. It's like so wonderful. They're all smiling in the sunshine. And but the one thing is Nick Jonas can't act to save his life. There's one point where they tell him, hey, you've been, this is a spoiler, who cares though, it's Jumanji, that you've been stuck in this game for 20 years. And he just looks like a sad puppy. And he's just staring into the distance. Yeah, that's the only weak link in the movie, I think.
Here's one minor thing that I like though.
Yeah.
The character that plays Nick Jonas' dad, like the old man at the end, do you know who that was?
Colin Hanks, was it?
No, it's, I can't remember the actor's name, but he played Otter in Animal House.
I think it's Timothy something. I
Oh,
can't remember his name, but you know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
But yeah, like that was him, and like it doesn't look anything like him. So
No kidding.
I thought that was really cool.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Good to see him again.
Yeah.
So I have three that I'm gonna blaze through, and then one I'm actually gonna talk about.
Okay.
So Kong Skull Island was actually like amazing.
Yes, of course.
I was expecting it to be complete garbage, like because the director was like new basically.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I saw even that summer movie or whatever, and then Logan, I was expecting that to be complete garbage because I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it, but it was actually amazing. And then Blade Runner was way better than any right to be as a Blade Runner sequel. I was expecting that to be complete trash, but instead nailed it. It was Villanueva, so I should have known it was good. But the one I want to talk about is 3 Billboards. I saw that like way early because I reviewed it for the site. It's up there on the website. You should check it out.
Nice.
But I actually, because seeing the trailers, it doesn't do the movie justice. Like it really doesn't do the justice. It doesn't really give away what, like, the plot is so simple, I guess, that it doesn't really fill in what the story like goes over. Like it's so much more about character development and so much more about these like flawed human beings and almost kind of like the state of America, and where we're at right now, like as a social order, that it just does so many things I didn't think it would do. So in terms of expectations, I was like, oh no, because I adored In Bruges and I adored Seven Psychopaths, and I was so worried watching 3 Billboards. I'm like, am I gonna hate this director now because like he made a bad movie? You know?
Yeah. Is that
And
the same guy?
same-
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
Martin
know what?
McDonagh.
That reminds me of. So you really liked it, right?
I loved it, yeah.
That movie's really polarizing because a lot of people, I think, for the specifics, the details of the movie, it rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And similarly, this was going to be my initial choice. Actually, I don't know why it slipped my mind. Downsizing. Alexander.
Oh, yeah,
Alexander
that's
Payne's
another-
Downsizing.
yeah.
I watched that movie and I thought it was wonderful, and I thought it was a really great social satire about a character who has zero energy, I mean agency, and keeps just like settling over and over again. And I got the point. I thought it was a really nice movie.
I actually had to
But
watch
people-
that because so many people hated it.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
despise
exactly.
that
And you
movie.
know the element that they hated is
Yeah.
his love interest in the movie, Stumpy, his
Yeah.
brother Stump at a certain point. But like
Well,
I thought that really highlighted the black comedy of the movie was that element. And
What bothered me was I felt like the movie was actually kind of like saying something, it was
Yeah.
actually whatever, and so many reviews were like, the concept's absurd. And I'm like, when has that ever stopped a movie? Like are you saying Being John Malkovich is a bad movie because the concept's absurd? Like,
you gotta
it's a good
attempt to
movie.
understand it. You can't just block it out because you see some weird shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa. So like it's getting tanked. It's getting hammered right now. I think it's one of the best little films of the year, in my opinion.
Then one
No
I
pun
wanna-
intended.
Oh yeah, there you go. One I want to carry off for you too is Blade Runner. Like the way that movie really worked for me, it reminded me a lot of Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
It was in development for a long time. I didn't really know what to expect from it. I didn't have high hopes. And same thing with Mad Max. I walked in, I was blown away. Like I was like, this is such a well-painted film. Like it just looks so good.
100%.
Yeah, and because I'll be honest, I didn't like the original that much.
Oh, really?
I guess like. I don't know. It was coming into it, I guess, from a different perspective. I really didn't enjoy the first one.
See the director's cut?
Yeah, I saw the final cut.
Ah, okay.
Yes. But yeah, the 2049 I really liked. And also I'm not really a big Ryan Gosling fan. He won me over in that movie. I really liked
100%,
him in that,
yeah.
And the commonality between those is Fury Road and Blade Runner, that they let the auteurs do what they wanted to do. The studio
No,
just stepped back and
you
say,
see those budgets, and they're really big budgets, and you're like, and I remember the Mad Max one, I was like, or the Blade Runner one, I was like, how's that so high? And then I'm watching behind the scenes, and it's like, yeah, the cityscape, it's all miniatures, and we like physically painted it, and we ran a camera through it. I was like, oh, that's how they did that, that's why.
Rated
that's why the
R, that's
budgets-
the difference.
Yeah.
It lets you expand. When it's PG-13, the money politics start coming in, and you can't do this, that, and the other thing. And that's what they need to do more often. Let the
So
auteurs
I guess while we're talking about movies that we actually liked, let's move into our weekly topic of what do we recommend for the week? Like, what do we want viewers to actually watch? It could be TV, it could be films, it could be anything. Like, what do you recommend from this podcast that this is certified by us?
Gosh, so I've got 2 certified by me. 1, web series Ruby. If you haven't watched it, watch it. 2 is Brawl in Cell Block 99, starring Vince Vaughn. It's on like Amazon and all that. It's Vince Vaughn playing a very, very non-Vince Vaughn role, and he kills it. If you want to see Vince Vaughn be Jack Reacher, watch that movie. It's
Oh, wow.
really fun. Yeah.
He was wonderful as Norman Bates. So
Yes.
just
Like he's embracing his full psychopath, and it's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend, I saw this wonderful little film last night called Black Dynamite.
Oh.
And I had not seen it before, and I'm a big fan of all those blaxploitation movies from the 70s. I'm convinced that if that movie if that movie had actually come out, I know, sometimes I just completely derail my train of thought. If that movie had actually come out in the 1970s, it would have been the greatest movie of all time.
Right.
Yes. So it's hilarious, it's insanely clever, And I recommend you go watch it if you want a little taste of the 70s.
Yeah. My favorite part of the movie is the part, haha, I threw that shit before it walked in the room.
That was funny. Punched in the face.
Yeah.
I love the Nixon fight.
Oh, yes. That's
Yeah.
No spoilers. It came out 10 years ago.
Spoilers, no, yeah.
Mine are just going to be 2 movie theater films. So Phantom Thread, while it's still in theater, please catch it. People always overlook Paul Thomas Anderson movies because they see the trailer and they're like, oh, it's weird. You know, like, I totally admit, like, I was watching Thor Ragnarok with my dad, and the trailer for Phantom Thread came on, and the second I saw PTA, I was like, yeah, I'm ready. But my dad's like, why are you going to watch a movie about a dressmaker? Like, why would you want to watch that? I was like, oh, that is weird, huh? Like, the Daniel Day-Lewis and the director got me, like, hyped, but the concept, get over the concept. The movie itself is actually this amazing character study. It's just, it's insane.
It's better if you know nothing about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, one fun thing about that, this is like a Blake learned of the week. Is that I learned an hour ago that Paul Thomas Anderson was not the guy that directed Resident Evil. That's Paul Thomas Anderson. Two very different men.
Yeah.
Oh, because I was like, man, that's a big jump in quality. I didn't realize it was 2 different people.
I love both of them for very different reasons.
I actually like the idea if PTA's filmography included 3 Musketeers, Resident Evil, and like all those movies.
Every Mila Jovovich movie that was ever made.
Possibly the greatest filmmaker of all time, if that's the case. Oh, man. I have a soft spot for the Resident Evil movies, man. They really hit me right here. I might be the only person who's a fan of the games and the movies.
I was going to say that's weird, like, talking about that middle digital ground. I'm surprised Resident Evil is like a yearly Netflix series.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet.
Well, Evil's not
they
doing
do have
anything.
a series of CGI films.
Really?
Yeah.
They're not bad.
Yeah, it's like you got Leon Kennedy going full John Wick on a bunch of zombies. It's not bad. It's
Oh, really?
worth watching, yeah.
No kidding.
Absolutely.
All right. And then also, I really want to recommend, if it's still in theater for you, Shape of Water. It's just another movie where you can look at the trailer and you're not really buying into it. It's worth it just to appreciate the aesthetic quality that goes into Guillermo del Toro's movies. And I'm a huge Pan's Labyrinth fan.
Yeah.
And I really, really think Shape of Water actually beats it in terms. Oh, I think purely because both movies are similar in terms of you're reading a lot during that movie. A lot of it's just based off of like, you know, what you're feeling. It's a lot like soundtrack and like moody atmospheres and stuff, but this one I like more than Pan's Labyrinth because it actually has like a happy ending and it actually is really sweet and really like, I don't know, it does something for me. So definitely watch those. And
Not to mention that it hits that untapped demographic of fish fetishists that I think, you know, could really, I don't know.
It unlocked a whole demographic.
They've had the mermaid for like 20 years. They finally got something new.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like 50 Shades Freed, its entire point is like, hey, let's make like a kink movie or whatever. Everyone's so bored by it, it's not even sex, whatever. Shape of Water didn't even advertise she's gonna have sex with the fish, but everyone, it awoke a lot of things in people.
Yeah, and Guillermo del Toro actually, you know, understands the dynamics of fish-human love. I don't think 50 Shades of Grey they understand anything about cake. It's pretty vanilla as far as it.
All right. Is that the fin for the podcast?
Yeah.
I'm just joking around. None of this is serious.
Oh,
that was the only fish pun I could think of. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. We can just keep talking. How long have we been doing this?
Yeah, I don't know if Chris wants us to wrap or not.
Is Chris the one who determines that?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, he's producing. So,
yes.
Thanks for joining us this week. There was a lot of rust, I guess, but I think this was fun. We got a lot of topics in. As we move further into Oscar season, we can actually start talking about Oscars, which is going to be a lot of hectic debate, I'm pretty sure.
We talk about Oscar the Grouch. He's like my favorite Oscar.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Or Oscar Isaac, one of the two.
Or we could just debate about the validity of the Oscars.
Yeah.
Which would be fun, too.
No, our awards dead, especially when movies like, you know, exist on Netflix now.
The Golden Globes are the real award show.
Yeah, you know, that's fun. But yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll be back here next week, live stream on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe, follow. If you're catching it later, be sure to share it with your friends. Be sure to catch Sneak Peek live, 9:30 p.m. Central Time on watchtstv.com. We're going to be airing, having a lot of cool segments. Blake normally has a panel. I like those. And yeah, be sure to check out our website too. It has reviews. It has a lot of cool stuff on it. And be sure to follow us to stay up to date on all the latest entertainment news. Thanks for joining us, and see you guys next time.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. All right. Great.